Bradford City continue their 2025-26 League One campaign with a home clash against Nigel Clough's at Mansfield Town, and in today's video you're going to find out how both teams have gotten so far this season, what my starting 11 would be for this game if I was Graham Alexander. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, then make sure to like, comment and subscribe. But my team Bradford City, we currently sit 4th in the League One table. After 37 matches we've got 19 wins, 7 draws and 11 defeats, where we've scored 47 goals and also conceded at 41. That leaves us on a positive 6 goal difference and 64 points. Our last couple of matches then have been a loss, a win, a loss and a win. In terms of those last couple of matches then, on Saturday we obviously had that tragic 2-0 defeat away at Wigan. Two pretty poor sides in all honesty, but they were more clinical. Great finish from Caelan Vickers and then Joe Taylor doing what he does at this level. We were just awful, absolutely awful, created nothing, defensively very frail, just a really bad performance and a typical away performance that we've come to expect from Bradford City in the calendar year of 2026. Prior to that game though, we did have a fantastic 2-0 win away at Port Vale. This seems to be a bit of an anomaly away from home for Bradford City, where it was probably our best away performance of the season. It totally dominated them, 33 shots away from home, better than them in every single metric. We were fantastic all over the park, but it's all well and good being able to do it against the worst side in the division, but we've just simply not been able to back it up enough or often enough away from home in 2026. Prior to that game then, we had a 2-1 win at home to Leyton Orient, despite the referee clearly being a big fan of the O's. We did manage to get through with all 3 points on that day. A brace from Anthony Sarsvik and obviously Aidan Baldwin for this game against Mansfield will be serving the third and final game of his red card ban, which even now I still don't think was even a foul by Baldwin, let alone a red card, but that goes to show where the game has gone. But as we know, at home at Valley Parade this season, we are the best side in the division at Valley Parade, so hopefully we can back it up tomorrow night against Mansfield with another 3 points. Prior to that game, we had a disappointing 2-1 defeat away at Reading. Up until 89 minutes, we were controlling the game, very comfortable in the match, and then we brought on a centre-back for an attacking midfielder, and as every football fan knows, that obviously means you then capitulate. We conceded about 30 seconds later and ended up losing the game in the 97th minute. A incredibly disappointing result, considering if we'd have won this game, which we'd probably deserved to do, then that would have definitely cemented us a playoff spot. But obviously, given that Reading are one of those teams chasing us, it does now keep that alive. And we also had a 1-0 win at home to Rotherham. Not loads to say about this game, certainly a case of a job done. Matt Pennington scoring his first goal for the football club. We had a couple of half chances but didn't really create much else in the game, and considering Rotherham were one of the worst away teams, or maybe the worst away team in League One by the time this game did come around, I think only scoring 1 goal was a little bit frustrating. Compared though to Mansfield Town, they currently sit 15th in the League One table. After 35 matches they've got 11 wins, 12 draws and 12 defeats, where they've scored 42 goals and also conceded 39. That leaves them on a positive 3 goal difference and 45 points. Their last couple of matches then have been a draw, a win, a draw and a loss. Obviously they haven't played that much football in the league recently, as they've only, I think last week, just been knocked out of the FA Cup by Arsenal. So Mansfield have been a very streaky side. Now they're out of the cup, they've certainly started to pick things back up again in the league. As we know, when we played them on New Year's Day, they were fantastic that game, completely played us off the park, but again, you look at the team we put out that day, it was a heavily rotated side, and hopefully we don't do that again in this fixture. In terms of Mansfield's last couple of games then, on Saturday they had a 2-2 draw at home to Barnsley. Despite going 2-0 down in the game and former Bantam Scott Banks scoring once again for the Tykes, they'd managed to complete a comeback. Stephen McLaughlin scoring in the 94th minute in that game, and again you look at the stats, I think a draw probably was a fair result. They also had a 1-0 win at home to Reading, who had obviously been on a very good run of form. Louis Reed scoring a goal from I think just outside of the penalty area to secure all 3 points for the Stags, and again you look at the stats, it probably was a justified victory for Mansfield Town. They also had a 0-0 draw away at Rotherham United. Not loads to say about this game. If either side did really deserve to win it, you probably would have said at Mansfield, but certainly a game that did lack quality, and given the run that both of these sides were on around the time of this fixture, I don't think it was a bad point and clean sheet for both of these sides. They also had a 2-2 draw at home to AFC Wimbledon. Again, maybe Mansfield might be feeling a little bit unjust of not not got all 3 points in this game. They were largely better than Wimbledon in a lot of these statistics, but I don't think a point is necessarily an unfair result. As we know from when we played Wimbledon a couple of weeks ago, they are certainly a tough test at this level, and again, I don't really think this is a bad point. And they also had a 2-0 defeat at home to Lincoln City. We're going back here to nearly the middle of February, which goes to show how little league games that they have played recently. But again, Lincoln, we know they're 20 games unbeaten. They're going to go on and win the league title. Absolutely outstanding team, so there's no real shame in losing it to Lincoln City, who I'll probably say, looking at these stats, were deserved winners on the day. Before we do go any further though with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 150 likes on today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Level down below your score prediction for this match. What would your starting 11 be as well? Would you make any changes from Saturday's defeat against Wigan? Now, picking my team then for this game against Mansfield was incredibly tough, because obviously we were awful against Wigan, but then prior to that we had some really good performances against Port Vale and also Leyton Orient. So it's a bit of a difficult one, because I think there's only really 12 or 13 players that are good enough to be consistently starting for Bradford City. We've got a lot of other players that are not as good as some of those and probably find themselves more as squad players, but obviously we are at Valley Parade, so I would stick with the 3-4-2-1 formation. In goal for me, I would go with Sam Walker, and it's not necessarily by choice at this point. Again, I don't think he covered himself in much glory on Saturday. Nothing that he can do about the shot of the first goal, but obviously the original attack from Wigan does come from his poor distribution. The second goal, obviously there's a big error from Jensen Metcalf. Harrison Ashby doesn't necessarily cover it himself in glory, but again, the shot's right next to Sam Walker and he just can't quite get down quick enough. I think that is a big priority for me in the summer, is bringing in a better goalkeeper than Sam Walker. He's been a great servant to Bradford City, but we have seen over the last couple of weeks that it seems to be near enough every game there's a goal going in that Sam Walker should be doing better with. Obviously, he did well to keep a clean sheet against Port Vale, but again, he had one save to make in that match. And you look on Saturday, when you need your goalkeeper to be standing up tall and doing his job, unfortunately, at this moment in time, Sam Walker isn't quite doing that. But again, what other options have Bradford City got? In terms of my back three then, at right centre-back, I would go with Matt Pennington. Obviously, not his best performance in a Bradford City shirt at the weekend, but certainly don't think he was very bad. He was probably a 5 or a 6 out of 10. Not loads to say about Matt Pennington. Obviously, with Aidan Baldwin still being suspended, he is the only player that can naturally play in that position. In the middle of my back three, I would stick with Curtis Till, who I thought had a bit of an indifferent game, because I thought defensively he had a really strong game. He kept Joe Taylor in his pocket for the majority of the match. Defensively, very strong, but when he plays in that middle of the back three, especially in games like that when the opposition are clearly allowing Bradford City to have the football, I do think that is where you see a bit of a decline in Curtis Till, in the way of obviously his passing ability is not one of his strong points, especially those long diagonal balls. He's obviously not Aidan Baldwin. If he had Aidan Baldwin's passing ability, he wouldn't be playing for Bradford City in League One, because he's a monster defensively, and I think that's obviously a big part of his game. But it's clear to see that technically is where sometimes he does let the team down a little bit when he plays in the middle of that back three. But again, obviously Baldwin will be back on Saturday, and I think will come straight back in to the side. So completing my back three then, at left centre back, I would go with Ibu Toure, who obviously wasn't great on Saturday. I think it was probably his worst performance of the season in a Bradford City shirt. Just kept making the wrong decision or the wrong choice of pass. Obviously, I don't think the pitch did particularly help, but it just wasn't Toure's best performance in a Bradford City shirt. However, across the whole season so far, he has been one of our best and most consistent players. Has recently had a bit of time out of the side because of injury, and then obviously player availability has meant he struggled to get back into the side. Now he's back in it though, and with Baldwin being back available on Saturday, if Toure wants to keep his place in this side, because it will be him who does drop out for Aidan Baldwin, especially when you're coming up against Beasley, for example, on Saturday, then Toure needs to have a strong performance in this game, and I really think he will do. I think he'll bounce back. In terms of my midfield four then, at right wing back, I would stick with Josh Nerfield, who again I don't think had a particularly great game on Saturday. Sometimes he has those matches where he's just incredibly hesitant to try and take on the fullback, and I think we've got to give the Wigan, I'm pretty sure it was number 7, might have been Fraser Murray, who's actually a winger by trade. He pocketed Josh Nerfield. He did not have a good performance whatsoever, but again, you look at Harrison Ashby, who came on, yes, slightly out of position, but he looked absolutely all over the place, and now I'm kind of understanding why, despite him playing 50 games at championship level, why he is now in League One and on the bench consistently for Bradford City. We know that Josh Nerfield on his day can certainly provide a goal contribution. He's up to nearly double figures now for this season, so I would like to see Nerfield if he'll keep his place in this side, but maybe soon he could do with a bit of a rest because he did look absolutely shattered at the weekend. In terms of my two central midfielders, firstly I would go with the captain, Max Power. Again, don't think it was his best performance of the season on Saturday. Don't think it was his worst whatsoever, but we've not really got too many other options to play in that position. I think for me the frustration with Power is when we had a couple of set pieces, for example, and we're still choosing to play them short on that pitch at Wigan, is never going to work well. Sometimes you've just got to stick it in the box, but again, I think Power has probably had worse games for Bradford City this season. Obviously, in the reverse fixture against Mansfield, was at fault for one of those goals. Partnering Power in the midfield, I would stick with Jensen Metcalf. Again, you all know how big of a fan I am of Jensen Metcalf, but I think it's fair to say it wasn't his best performance of the season on Saturday. Obviously, makes a massive error for the second goal that Wigan do score. But again, when he's not really got any other competition in that position, he is the only natural number 8 in our squad. Maybe there's a little bit of complacency potentially. I am obviously a massive fan of Jensen Metcalf, but when he's not got somebody right up his backside wanting to take his position like what we had earlier on in the season, maybe there is going to be that odd moment of just a little bit of complacency. And he's a young player who's obviously going to have these ups and downs as well, but again, maybe a bit of naivety from Bradford City not bringing in some more competition in that position in the January transfer window. And completing at my midfield 4 then, at left wing back, I would go with Tyreek Wright, who again, I don't think he had a particularly great game on Saturday, but he was outstanding against Port Vale. Again, if you're playing Torre at left centre back, then he's the only natural player who can play in at that left wing back position. You're not going to suddenly chuck in a Louis Sibley for this game, for example. So would like to see Tyreek Wright keep his place in this side, and hopefully he can put on a similar performance like what he did against Port Vale. In terms of my front three then, incredibly difficult to pick for this one. So as we saw on Saturday, we started again with Sarcevic, Poynton and Wheatley, and all three of those were subbed off at half time. And then you look at Swan, Mullin and Humphreys. Apart from Humphreys a little bit, I don't think any of them really had an impact on the game, and it's just really difficult to pick. I think firstly, as my right attacking midfielder, I would stick with Anthony Sarcevic. There is nobody in this squad that can do what Sarcevic does, and it wasn't his best performance of the season on Saturday against Wigan, but I don't think he was playing bad whatsoever. I was a little bit surprised to see him come off at half-time. We know he has played a lot of football recently, and he might be a bit of a doubt to start this game against Mansfield, but I think we know how important Sarcevic is, and obviously he didn't start in the reverse fixture and we got battered on that day, so I would like to see Sars keep his place in this side. As my left attacking midfielder, again, pretty difficult to pick. I would personally stick with Bobby Poynton. I feel like, again, Poynton wasn't really that bad on Saturday. You know, he was putting himself into tackles and all that sort of stuff, trying to create things, but it just wasn't really coming off for him. And as we know, scored a lot of goals at Valley Parade so far this campaign. I think missed the reverse fixture through injury, so he might have a little bit of a point to prove in this game, and obviously he'll be hoping to find himself on the score sheet once again. But I would make a change at striker, and again, like what I said going into the Wigan game, I think Will Swan has to start as the number 9 for Bradford City. I think it's pretty apparent to see that the January transfer window, in terms of bringing a striker in, has been a failure for Bradford City. Paul Mullin looks shattered after about 10 minutes, and all he does is come on and give away free kicks and silly fouls. He missed an absolute sitter on Saturday where he didn't even connect his body onto it about 5 or 10 minutes into the second half. I think Mullin should definitely do better with that. Probably should score. And then you look at Ethan Wheatley, who we also brought in, who had some good link-up play against Port Vale, but his finishing is dreadful if we're being honest. And on Saturday, we saw the worst of Ethan Wheatley, where he looks lazy, he's not interested in challenging for the ball, he looks weak, he looks like he's got a poor first touch, and it looks like he's not really interested in playing and doing what he needs to do for the team. Whereas Will Swan, we saw at the start of the season, you know, he's probably one of the best pressing strikers in this division. He's so intelligent with the way that he presses. Yes, obviously he's not been on the greatest goal scoring run since the beginning of the season, only one goal since the 6th of September, but playing against his former side, who else is more likely to score against Mansfield Town? Obviously we got rid of Andy Cook in January, big physical target man. We tried to sign Jake Beasley and we didn't end up bringing him in. Then you look to try and play long ball on Saturday, and we don't have a physical striker in the matchday squad. So some really bizarre decisions that have gone on at Bradford City. Again, I'm not going to be overly critical because we are still in an incredible position, but it could have been a amazing position, and we could have really been challenging for that top 2 if we got January a lot better than what we did. But that would be my team, just one change from Saturday, and that kind of is a bit of a reflection on the squad depth that we've got. And also, we can't underestimate Mansfield. They're a good side, as we saw in the reverse fixture. On the bench then for me, that would leave Joe Hilton, Harrison Ashby, Joe Wright, Lee Evans, George Lapsley, Stephen Humphreys, and also Ethan Wheatley. The players currently available are Aidan Baldwin, who is obviously serving the 3rd of his 3-game ban, Nick Powell, who, I mean, does that guy even exist anymore? And also Caden Jackson, who should be back in the next couple of weeks or so, hopefully. We're kind of needing him, aren't we? So the players who miss out then through selection would be Kieran Kelly, Louis Sibley, Joe White, and also Paul Mullin. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well. If you are new, can we try and hit 150 likes, as I said at the start of today's video? And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below your score prediction for this match. What would your starting 11 be as well? Thank you all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one.